Welcome back to Mantle Mondays. I'm Amar Varma, the co-founder and CEO of Mantle. I am excited about this episode as always, because today we're joined by Sam Pasupalak, the co-founder and CEO of Skyfall. Bit of quick context before we dive in. While every other AI lab is really racing to build the perfect coworker, Sam's team just announced that they're skipping the race entirely. They're going to buy a real company and put AI in as the CEO itself. Welcome, Sam. Excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Amar. Really appreciate it.
Before we just get into it, the headline in Forbes that just came out, back to you. Former Microsoft AI leaders are spending $1 million to prove AI can replace CEOs. Fill us in on the plan.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, so basically, from our end, if you think about it, in the overall AI ecosystem in the last 3.5 years or so, everyone's building this AI copilot, like a copilot experience with LLMs, right? So you do a back and forth conversation with Claude or OpenAI or whatever your favorite platform is. And we are building basically for the post LLM era. I think that's the highest level hypothesis which Skyfall is going for. LLMs are great as a large scale pattern matcher. If you think about it, I think it's basically much better than what Google used to be. There's three big areas where LLMs have succeeded. Number one is information retrieval and search. Number two is code generation, as we see in Claude Code and such. And number three is I would say, video generation, which has got less success than the other two categories. And then that's the model layer. You have all the AI wrappers that sit on top. And then you have the infrastructure layer in the bottom and then GPU layer to support that. I think that's the highest level of if you think about the AI ecosystem in a nutshell. LLMs are being the power horse for this whole AI revolution in the last 3.5 years, but they suffer from a lot of problems, and which we're going to get to during the course of this conversation.
Great.
So from our end, why we're looking into buying a business is because if you think about it, the whole industry is focused on, let me build an AI software engineer. Like everyone is so excited about Claude Code. Everyone's so excited about um, the company Cursor that got bought out by X. But if you think about software engineering, we've all been software engineers, right? And software engineering is a very logical, deterministic task. Extremely logical. Like you have to there's if else statements you have to write. There's programming constructs you have to write, and it's very methodical in nature. Whereas the job of a CEO in a startup is extremely hard. Like for example, I have to do a lot of long horizon planning. Okay, I'm going to do a big round of fundraising later in the year. What am I going to do? I have to build these kind of products. Who's going to be building them? What are the ingredients of the products? How do we go to market? What is the sales plan? There's so many ingredients in that. I have to do stakeholder management. How do I do that? So basically, number one job of a CEO is long horizon planning. This is where LLMs completely falls short because they do 10 to 100 steps, whereas as CEO you have to do hundreds of thousands of steps ahead that you have to plan. Number two would be high stakes decision making with not a lot of information. So I think that's where again LLMs fall short, and this is where I'll give you an example. Like as a CEO, you don't have a lot of information about a lot of things. You don't know everything about. You have a lot of employees and co-founders and everyone working on different tasks. So it's kind of like the partially observable space in the AI world, where you have little information, you still have to make the best decision. And again, this is where LLMs completely fall short. I'd say the third problem is sample efficiency. So for LLMs, you need to build these massive data centers because whereas a human brain, we operate it's like you need the energy of like a light bulb, like 20 megawatts, right? So I think for us as human beings, we always try to think in the latent space. Like we always have these abstractions that we construct in the latent space. Again, LLMs are not good in that. So I think these are some of the other, I guess the fourth reason to add is as human beings, we try to continually learn and adapt to new situations and new environments, right? Whereas LLMs is very static. Like it's the same training data that they have, which is the human curated training data on the web from Reddit, Twitter, Wikipedia, etc. Right. So I think
Yeah.
if you want to build an AI CEO, that's way harder, many orders of magnitude harder than an AI software engineer. And if you want to build like an autonomous business. And why do we want to build an autonomous business? Let me get to that as well. Because we think that human beings should do work on things which they're extremely passionate about. They should not do operational tasks. And if you want to free humanity of the operational tasks that they do on a day-to-day basis, to pursue their creative pursuits in arts or sports or philosophy or whatever it is, then you have to make autonomous businesses. And for that, we are basically focusing on two areas of research. One is world modeling, and second is continual learning. At the highest level, what world modeling is, as human beings, you try to imagine or dream the future. So you make a lot of like probabilities of the different potential actions that you're going to take and take a real world decision or policy in the real world. That's how human beings plan. So that's kind of the highest level of the world model. I think what it's mostly applied in robotics, but not necessarily in the enterprise context. The second thing is continual learning, which is as human beings, we continually try to uh, get new information and remember what's important and forget what's not. And it's not like LLMs where you have to have, again, huge data centers with RAG systems where you have to always ping for information every time you have to do information retrieval. That's not how human beings learn. So we do think these are the two missing pieces of the puzzle that will help us get to enterprise superintelligence, or people call it AGI or whatever, in combination with LLMs. So LLMs are good as a prior, but you also need these two ingredients.
Yeah. This is super interesting. There's this every node of technology innovation, there's a jump. And the initial rush is to make the technology work. That the first 2 or 3 years is all around consumers eating it up, using it, exploiting it. And then the next wave comes, generally years 3, 4, 5 with the enterprise versions of these things. And you start seeing use cases you didn't expect when the thing first came out, right? This is kind of the things that we're starting to see, especially here. Um, let's talk about Skyfall. Where do people find Skyfall?
So I think if you go to our webpage, obviously you can see a bunch of research papers. We've been doing research since last year, and we're in the forefront of it for world modeling in the enterprise context. I think it all started last year when we were. I don't know if you played the game Roller Coaster Tycoon or not, but it used to be extremely famous 20 years ago. Okay, so basically it's a business simulator game, and you have to organize rides in a theme park and stuff, and you have to increase your profit and revenue and all that. So we started doing research on that, on can we automate the business over there. Okay, can how much can we automate using LLMs versus world models. And that's when we figured out that give us the confidence by running a lot of experiments over there that LLMs are drastically failing over there. And yeah, we now are moving into the real world from the confidence we got from the virtual world with roller coaster tycoons. And then we're like now buying micro SaaS businesses up to 1 million. We'll spend up to 1 million to buy these businesses. So few 100,000 ARR is what you can think about it. And then next year, hopefully, if the experiments are successful within the next 6 to 9 months, we'll be buying businesses in the range of 10 to 100 million, exactly 10 to 100 million, and go up. Like you have to keep going up, right? So I think that's the scale that we're looking at right now.
Huh? So let's talk about founding in the companies. One of the things we love talking about on this series is founders, stories, learnings. So I understand you founded the company in April 2025. Who were your co-founders and what was the initial idea?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been in the founder game for 15 years now, Amar. I did, me and my co-founder, for example, Kahir, we used to 15 years ago when there was no AI hype, we were one of the pioneers in building deep learning systems for natural language understanding. And we worked with Yoshua Bengio, Richard Sutton. These are Turing Award winners later on, but back then they were also very famous researchers, and we built fundamental systems that later became uh, more mainstream. And then LLMs obviously took off and took it to the next level. That research was my company called Maluuba. And we also built like this crazy voice-based personal assistant. We're amongst the first in the world with Apple Siri and Google Now back in the day. So very, very early days, 2011, 2012. Deployed across hundreds of millions of users through partnership. Back in the day, hundreds of millions was a big deal. Now billions is a big deal. Sorry. So I think, and we partnered with like you know, Samsung, LG, BlackBerry, all kinds of companies, OEMs in the space. Uh, Microsoft acquired that company that became Microsoft Research Canada. And then I pursued a few other things in venture capital, figured out it's not my cup of tea at all. Tried a consumer social app, which I think I remember talking to you about a few years ago. Basically, we wanted to build LinkedIn for Gen Z. But anyways, that didn't work out because there's no founder market fit there. And then I'm back to my roots. I'm back to building AI research and cutting edge products, hopefully, over the next couple of years. We do think that just like LLMs had the moment of scaling laws, more data, more compute, and bigger models. The same thing's going to happen with world modeling over the next couple of years. I'm very excited to be part of that. So my founding team consists of me, Kahir, who I know for 20 years. I met him in University of Waterloo as a computer science student, and we did Maluuba together. And my founding team also consists of my brother Sumit. So I know him since he was born, and he was a YC founder. Did many different startups using Y Combinator and other platforms, and then yeah, he's a product guy, and Kahir and I are the research kind of people. So yeah, power team.
Amazing. So highly contextual, very close, trusted circle of
Yes.
people,
Yes.
highly skilled. You did mention the University of Waterloo. We're both alumni. Tell me a bit about the journey there and how it shaped you.
Yeah, so this is a good funny story as well. So I grew up in India, and I when I was 18, I didn't even want to go to Canada to come to university. And my dad uh, actually filled out the form for University of Waterloo and computer science and everything. And he took the information from me, whatever. And I got in, and I was not excited. I was like, no, I want to stay in India and play cricket. I want to watch Bollywood, whatever. Like, I was like 17, 18 back then. I didn't care much about, I was not a studious kid at that point of time. But then when I came to Waterloo, and I remember first week I was in computer science, all these kids are so much smarter than me. And I was like, holy cow, how am I going to survive Waterloo? And it was so tough. It was like, it was so cold. It was the winter, and even fall was kind of like towards November, December, it was getting colder and stuff. I saw snow for the first time. I was like, what am I doing in Canada? So I was like, it was so funny. But then, what happened is like, I persevered through it. And I remember Bill Gates came in 2008 to give a talk at University of Waterloo. It was part of his farewell tour, and and I was so inspired by the talk that I was like, you know what? I'm also gonna do like start a company and be an entrepreneur in the future. I was very inspired. In fact, I had to hustle so hard. I didn't have a ticket for that. I remember I didn't have a ticket for that talk. There was only like 750 people who were given lottery ticket to enter the talk, and I had to hustle my way in. That was the first hustle I ever did in my life, anyways. I had to like pretend I'm one of the people carrying the t-shirts to get the first level and the second level. So there's multiple levels because there's lots of security to get to the Bill Gates talk in Waterloo. Okay, and long story short, last level I just got in, and basically I have nothing, but I have my watt card because they have to scan the watt card if your watt card number matches in with with whether you're in or not. And the security person is like, you're not here. What are you doing here? Like, and then I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm such a big fan of Bill Gates. I would love to see him. And he's like, okay, let me check in. And if there's seats left, maybe I'll let you in. Otherwise, you have to go out. So I'm like, okay. And then he's checked, and there's only one seat left. Someone apparently didn't show up. And I went to that talk, and it inspired me so much. And I also during Waterloo I applied for internships in Microsoft. I applied 3 times and I never got in, never. And then I eventually met Bill Gates after the acquisition, and he was apparently part of the acquisition process because he was excited about deep learning and AI. And so I met him and I told him, you know what? You didn't give me an internship. So now you have to buy my company. So we had a good laugh about it. So I
Yeah,
think that's a cool circle about that.
that's
But yeah,
amazing.
Waterloo really shaped me and it has had a huge influence in me in terms of like who I am today, how I think, the whole entrepreneurship culture, velocity, the incubator they have over there, the talks they had. Even Jeffrey Hinton came in 2009 or 10. I think for entrepreneurship in Canada, Waterloo is the best school by far.
Interesting. Oh, it's great. It's great insight. Great story. I think the seeing snow for first time, seeing Bill Gates in 2008 to Microsoft buying your company. Good, some really good full circle items here. So thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that. Um, back to Skyfall. So you said something along the lines of you're not building the next virtual software engineer, but you're going after something harder, a virtual CEO. Um, Maybe just recap what are you asking AI to do that's different?
So right now we have the co-pilot experience if you think about it. Okay. We go on Claude, we go on Gemini, and build these harnesses and we do these prompt engineering and then we use these systems. So it's a very lot of back and forth interactions that you have with these systems. So what we have in mind is basically it's autonomous, like I'm saying, like the AI just does the task for you end to end. You don't have to go and prompt it, you don't have to do any fine tuning a model or anything like that. And for that you need you need innovations in world modeling and continual learning. There's no way around it. There's no way. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the LLM paradigm forever, right? And now you're seeing diminishing returns in the with the LLM paradigm as well, and with the benchmarks and stuff. In any of the benchmarks you see, whether in SWE or whichever benchmark you see, LLMs are giving diminishing returns. So now, in order to get um, not just humanity to the next level, but the AI systems to the next level. If we think about being more pragmatic, you have to invest in these two technologies for because I think long horizon planning is one of the most important things that human beings do. Okay, it's we're always planning. Every second we're planning. Even when I'm talking to you, I'm planning. By the way, I'm planning what to say. Okay, and that's a key ingredient missing in LLMs. So I do think that if you want to solve the most important problems and get as close to human beings, how they think, how they reason, you have to invest in world modeling and continual learning. So that's the two big bets we're making. And again, for long horizon planning, for adapting to dynamic environments, for thinking in the latent space and not necessarily in this high fidelity dimension, just like how algorithms do their search, then you have to do that.
Love
Yeah.
it. Let's kind of discuss some constructs here for people, right?
Yeah.
You know, in day one of owning this company, where does AI's authority stop and yours begin? And there's a blurry area for most people, myself probably included here, as to like, what's the transition area? Who owns what owns what? And then
Yeah.
also what's the like who's responsible for what?
Yeah. So I'd say, so I don't, first of all, I don't think AI will ever be able to replace human relationships and the management part, the human relationships part. It is impossible. But I do again think that for the operational part, I think AI can do all of it. I think every human construct in the operational segment will be done by AI. So let's say I'll give you an example. We're trying to acquire all these micro SaaS businesses right now, right? So how we're gonna do it at the beginning is first we're going to do very minimal human hand holding because we've already run it in virtual environments to see how they work and how the entire process of running a company works. So then we'll have to do minimal hand holding and see what the output is, and then we'd have to bring in the entire AI end to end to try out the systems. I think that's how we're kind of. It has to be a progression. It can't be like, okay, let's just drop the AI, the world modeling into the system and see how it works, and the business might just completely tank, right? So we don't want that as well. So I think first couple of months will definitely be a little bit of hand holding, and then we go from there.
Cool. All right. So there's a human relationship element to it. I use this analogy sometimes. Sometimes it's not right, but I think maybe in this context it could fit. When the mobile phone came out,
Mm-hmm.
and the smartphone came out with an app store, the construct was people were trying to optimize web experiences on a smaller screen. Turned out the big value add ended up being knowing someone's location and use of the camera.
Mm.
One of the things I'm watching about in this front, the model era is we talk about human relationships are not replaceable. Yes, of course, as humans, we get that. But I think in professional context of like coaching, mentorship, there is some element of being able to work with a machine. I see it in sports. At what point is the world you're intending to create a world created for machines operating with machines versus machines and humans?
Yeah. Again, like I said, I think for us, it's all operational. Everything that a human does from an operational perspective will be done by machines because machines are really, really good at that. Whereas anything where a human being needs to talk, to discuss with another human being or communicate with another human, whether it's feedback, whether it's like performance related issues, and whether it's like guidance, those kind of things where there interhuman relationship involved, those are the things that I don't think AI can do as good of a job as human beings ever. At the same time, you also have to have a little bit of discipline as well, right? As like, okay, I'm going to get these tasks done in this amount of time. So a human being needs to be there for instilling these values within the company or ecosystem that you operate in. It is impossible for AI to do. But whatever the human being was supposed to do on the day-to-day task basis, yes, that will be accomplished, and machines are going to be good in that. Yes,
Yes,
would be.
yes, understood. This is fascinating. And who ultimately will be responsible for payroll? Is it the machines or the humans?
Right now, with with the LLM and with the systems we have, of course, for in the foreseeable future, I can see definitely humans, like for now. But there will come a time when there's still mistakes made by payroll systems and stuff all the time. There's still mistakes made. So I do think a time will come when machines will take over the entire thing end to end. I definitely believe in that. I don't think we're there now, not right now, but times are changing very fast. I think where we are right now is so interesting. It's like the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution both in one. Like it's like people are innovating new technology with respect to AI, and there's going to be massive changes in the market very, very fast. Like I do think we're in that unique stage in history. So I think, yeah, lots of to come on.
Let's unpack that. I think for all folks here that have used any of the models, we can understand the automation and industrial revolution. Tell me about the Renaissance. Tell me a bit about that angle.
Yeah. So I think if you think about it, I think Renaissance was a very important time in the history of humanity because all the scientific innovations came out of there, where the printing press came around around the similar time as well. And there was a lot of philosophical new ideas and such that came out as well. And if we make the parallels to that time in around 1400s to now, even if we think about LLMs and how they have transformed work over the last 5 or 6 years, it's massive. It's tremendous. Uh, Let me give you an example. If you are a marketing person working in the marketing department or something, you have to come up with these copies from scratch. It's like used to take so much work because I had used to write like these marketing copies in my last startup, for example, or these social media posts or whatever from scratch. Writing from scratch is so hard, and this one of the smallest innovations of LLMs have had much more impact in society, right? And the text generation piece, the video generation piece, these are just the early days right now, I think, Amar. I think the long term uh, changes we still have to see over the next few decades, in my opinion. This
Yeah.
is going to be much bigger than cloud, much bigger than internet, in my personal opinion. Imagine the amount of productivity you have now because of Claude compared to compared to like 6, 7 years ago. Because, for example, I have to like compile a list of people up to, like, let's say, outreach to, right? Imagine how you're going to do that in the pre-LLM era. How tedious was that task of going through specific companies, going through the specific channels? Yeah, yeah. And before that, through that, it was so much work. Exactly. Exactly. It was so much work before that. So we've come a long way in the last 20 to 30 years, and this is going to be even much larger scale innovation compared to that. So we're just
You know,
entering.
I really just, I try not to opine too much because I'm not an expert, but I'll share with you on my opinion here. You know, I have 4 kids. They're ranging from teenager to toddler. And I'm always like, what is their future going to be? And I always think, you know, I worry about it, right? As parents, you worry about these things. And I'm sure my parents worried about it for me. And things worked out in our generation. Will it work out in their generation? I'm always like, of course it will. But it's like, but how? Will they just be, you know, doing the things humans do, relaxing, doing something of their choice, arts, sports? We become recreation people, or will there be a vector that continues? It's very interesting. I don't know what it'll be because I won't be around, but I suspect, people will always be in some level of certainty and control on this stuff.
I think there's this very interesting book I read a few months ago. It's about, like, it's stating something like that the future is going to be about luxury communism of sorts.
Luxury communism.
Yeah. So I
Having
think,
just gone to Russia, I'm very interested in
oh, really,
understanding
you
the
did go to
construct.
Russia recently? Wow.
Yes,
How
yes.
did that go?
It was fantastic. Very
Oh, wow.
interesting place. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
With lots of history, but there lots of art and history. I remember
Lots
that.
of Renaissance
Yes.
history as well. Yes. But tell me about this luxury communism. What is the construct there?
It was saying that, the cost of production of energy will eventually go down to zero. Okay. So if that happens, if you have autonomous enterprises, let's say, for example, autonomous digital enterprises, which we're talking about, there'll be also autonomous physical enterprises. There'll be autonomous, like, energy production, like asteroid mining and through other ways. Then the cost of labor goes to zero. Then what will human beings be working for? Why would they have to work on, let's say, operational tasks? That's why human beings would eventually be moving towards more creative tasks to pursue their creative passion. Will this create some problems or issues in society? Of course, it will for some period of time. But overall, I think as human beings, if you think about it, like, okay, think about 3,000 years ago. We had the plow. Before the plow came out, okay, we had to, like, till the land using hands and stones and such, okay? The plow was a ginormous innovation in the history of humankind. And then I think the one after that, is, I would say, the printing press was a ginormous. It was a big innovation. Before that, you have scribes writing the parchments one by one. Each book to deciphering one by one. So I think that was the big innovation. And I think right after that, I would say it would be the internet, which brought the information. I think Google played a massive part in that as well, for bringing information to everyone. Before that, you have to go to the library, to New York State Library or something like that, find information from the books and journals and stuff like that. Before that, it was so hard. You have to go do it manually. So I think we're entering a very interesting time right now in AI. And I think once all the information is available for almost free,
Yeah.
that's when the energy cost is probably going to be zero. I think that's what the theory the author was talking about. But that's a very interesting concept.
So a mentor of mine told me this once. They said, a book is the greatest gift. It's the insight into somebody else's mind at an exact instant.
Yes. Yes.
If you
Absolutely.
extrapolate that to the internet, where that became the culmination and accumulation of everybody's written material, whether it was in a post or a video or written, that became the totality of knowledge in humanity.
Yes.
Now that you have that as the seed or the starting point for this next era, you know, is it now going to give the cumulative intelligence? I think we're seeing that. Is it going to give us something beyond that we don't really understand yet? I think that's what people are suggesting. And it's very interesting to see where this lands and what the human interactivity and human aspect of all this is.
Yeah. I don't think, for example, Newton would have discovered the three laws if the scientists before him didn't contribute to the mathematical theories before him, and neither would Einstein come up with the theory of relativity and all that either. So I do think that uh, all the things that we're working on right now will take human scientific innovation to the next level.
Time will tell. Switching gears slightly, let's see if we can get some of the founder stories here. So 2017, Maluuba is
Yeah,
acquired by Microsoft.
yeah.
Talk to us about the experience, including things like, was Microsoft always on the dartboard for you? When did they interact with you? How did they come together with you? What was the process? Things you were unexpectedly surprised good with, and things that were like, ugh.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say like we were very early in the AI space, starting 2011 for Maluuba, for example. That's when we started the company. Went through lots of ups and downs. Actually, I'll share also a story which is very interesting. So 2015, when we were just about to launch some of our deep learning products, and we were one of the first in the world back then. We were one of the first in the world in machine learning in 2012, and one of the first in the world in deep learning in 2015. Because in 2012, everyone was still using rule based and ontological systems, by the way, back in the day, like Nuance and all these companies. So 2015, we had a big internet provider. I can't mention the name. Actually, now I can. I don't care. So yeah, Yahoo wanted to buy us, and the offer was all written up. Everything was ready to go, and employees were excited to move to Silicon Valley. Everyone's getting great packages, and right before the acquisition, the complete deal broke off, and obviously they uh, didn't like the engineers or whatever. Like some of the things went wrong. And so everyone was very disappointed with that because that was supposed to be the highlight of the company back then. The funny story is it was hard to raise investment. Now there's so much money. Now AI has so much money. Back then it was so hard to raise investment. And I had said no to these investors who were just about to invest. And I was like, sorry guys, Yahoo's gonna acquire us. So I'm sorry, I won't take your money. And then Yahoo didn't acquire us and we're running out of money. Okay. So
Oh my gosh. So founder nightmare, acquirer walks. You're looking at balance sheet and
And I'm
going,
opening a research lab in Montreal, heavily focusing on research. So all the money is going to research, not so in engineering, because I thought deep learning is the future. So we have to invest in deep learning, right? So all the money is going to research. so, so yeah, but I do think it was the right move because we did make a lot of innovations in research in deep learning by one of the pioneers in the world. And then uh, I remember that's it, 2015. We had this demo where you have a Harry Potter book and you can do any question answering in that Harry Potter book. Do any question. And that was the state of the art. Now obviously LLMs taken into the entire web. Right? But in 2015, doing any question answering without a rule-based system was quite innovation using the first deep learning systems. And then obviously that caught the eye of Microsoft. I think the media caught hold of our demos and stuff. And then the rest is history. I think the acquisition process was very interesting. So I was set up to meet Satya, the CEO, in I think around March of 2016 or something like that. And it was very good conversation we had. But we wanted to collaborate with them. We didn't know that it's going to be an acquisition or something. We wanted like a big Microsoft partnership because we're working with like Samsung, we're working with like LG, we're working with all these big OEMs. So we're like, oh, okay, we'll work at a big Microsoft partnership. And then I think one of the EVPs flew down to Montreal to meet me. I think his name was Chi Lu. He was a very big EVP of Microsoft. And he flew down to Montreal all the way. And clearly, I was not aware that the intention is to buy us or something like that. And there was enough hints being given, but I wanted a big partnership with them. And
you had the blinders on, right? Yeah.
so it was interesting. And then finally, we were going to raise a big round of funding. And then Microsoft heard about it and they're like, okay, so we schedule a call. And I'm like, hey, either raise a big round of funding. It was around back in the day, 50 million was a big deal. Now it's nothing. Or we sell to you guys for. 160, whatever. So ended up doing the acquisition. It was
Did you have any investors before?
Yeah, so we had investors. We only raised 8 million at that point overall in 5.5 years, which was not a lot for a research company, by the way. So I had to struggle very hard to get all these revenues from these OEMs and enterprise clients and stuff because we're
Any
very
any
R&D focused.
any investors that you thought they're good?
My investors were nice. Yeah, my investors were nice. I think they supported me. The deal terms were so interesting back then compared to now. By the way, so different, such a different ball game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the investors made good ROI. I think from my perspective, Microsoft obviously wanted to pay more than Google and Facebook and others who were potentially interested as well. So we took the deal. Also, they were a bit behind in AI compared to Google, which they always are. They're still behind in AI compared to Google.
You know,
So
when Google acquired DeepMind, was it 2011?
2014,
2014?
2014. Yeah,
2014?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, 2014. I just remember watching that going, this isn't just another acquisition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is potentially the building block for something much deeper, much bigger. I remember seeing that. And then I saw your demo.
Google did a fantastic job in making DeepMind the center of excellence for research, and it is the best research lab in the world by right now, by far.
Yeah. Then I remember seeing your demo and I'm like, okay. And then Microsoft, and I'm like, okay, this is happening. You know, this is a thing now, right? Like if in these companies take 10-year bets, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
how their timelines were working back then.
And the team worked in the early integrations between Bing and ChatGPT, ChatGPT 1, 2, all those, and integration with Bing, and then the early LLMs with BERT and all those models. So I think very interesting experiences that we've had as a team. And then, yeah, now we're moving to
Is there
something like,
anything from those integrations you can share that are insightful, maybe for founders on how to do things or not do things that might have worked or not worked?
I think all I can say is like building in Microsoft is very different than building as a startup. It's a very
Of
different ball
course.
game. And I think I'm not cut out for building inside Microsoft. That's for sure. I'm cut out for doing a startup and building 0 to 1. Over there, it's more about scale, efficiency, cross-platform integration, different teams. There's also a lot of bureaucracy, but you get that in every big company. And I have no patience, little so as to speak. So I just want to build, and my team has to
Yeah.
push forward as fast as they can. So for me, big company and me are not aligned. For me, I'm good for startup.
And I think it's true. I think for all founders and you know, even those that are working in startups, the reason they have an affinity and choose these entities is really around the ability to have autonomy, move quickly, you know, make decisions, sometimes looking backwards, you know. And when you switch that frame of reference and you get into a Microsoft or something at scale in your industry, you know, the approach is scale first, you know,
Yes.
uh, liability,
Yes.
maintainability. The
Exactly.
metrics change, and you're
Yeah.
like, it's for some
All
people
those
they
things
don't,
I don't care about. I'm so sorry, but I don't care about those things.
right? And then you see there's always this impedance mismatch is what I call it, right? And it's, you know, that's everybody's doing their job, but they're just doing it for different reasons. So
Yes.
that's very
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe this question here, you've had patents on this now for, I don't know, a decade at least in intent detection, dialogue management, all these things. When you look at what's come of frontier models and LLMs today, how does it make you feel? Is it like a vindication, or, you know, like what's kind of the emotion?
Yeah, I think it was great to be one of the early people in machine learning and deep learning, both of those uh, generations of AI, so as to speak. So we're very early in both of them. I think the LLM era has been primarily being dominated by OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind. The rest are whatever. Who cares about them? These are these are the main guys who actually are the winners of the LLM era. In my personal, oh, okay, the GPU and the infra, that's separate. But I'm saying for the model layer, these are the three companies that are really successful. So Yeah, I think it's kudos to them to continuing to do the research from, let's say, 2017 when where the Microsoft acquisition was done, and I left following a little bit after the acquisition. But these guys, in OpenAI, when I remember in 2015, OpenAI started, no one cared about OpenAI. Let's just be very honest with you. No one cared at all about OpenAI. People started caring about OpenAI in 2020 when the scaling laws paper came out, a little bit. And even that's research community. Most people started caring OpenAI only after ChatGPT came out in 2022, November, December, whatever the timeline was. Okay. So they struggled for 7 years. It was not an overnight success. No way in hell. Okay. I remember within Microsoft, for example, we wanted to do like uh, using the cutting edge deep learning models, like beat SAT score and all those kind of projects, which people are doing right now, for example, or a couple of years ago as well. These guys started to do that. We wanted to do that in 2017, right after the acquisition in Maluuba, but I do think that we're a bit ahead of the curve back then. So I do give OpenAI guys, they deserve all the credit they can get. Now, Anthropic is a very different, interesting story in my personal perspective as well. People give a lot of credit to um, Dario, but I think Dario is so smart. He was working in OpenAI till 2020, and he did the scaling laws paper, which is basically the paper that defines this entire new generation of LLMs because it shows that scaling laws work for LLMs. And he left right after that. Sure, there was Sam Altman dispute, all these kinds of things we read in the media. But to think about it, he left at the exact right time to build the company in 2021. It's like really good timing, excellent timing. And you know what? Now they're going to be more successful than OpenAI, and they are already more successful than OpenAI. Although it's only been 5 years, it's insane the growth rate and everything we see right now. So I think it's about right place, right time, right opportunity. Those things matter a lot in entrepreneurship.
I think you nailed it. Just contrasting OpenAI to even Anthropic here. There's like two timelines. The investigation period, the definitive moment where the inflection of the curve was coming.
Yes.
He saw it. He made it happen.
Yes.
Credit and kudos to the entire industry there, right, to making that all happen. And I tell people, don't underestimate luck and timing, right?
Yeah.
There's skill and there's definitely repeatable and being skillful, but that luck and timing is a big deal.
Like for example, I'll tell you from my experience, 2011 to 2015 around, Maluuba, no one cared much about Maluuba. Okay,
Yeah.
just to be very honest. But once deep learning came in and we were the early players in that, that's when everyone cared, for example. So it is about grinding it out for a few years, and then you have to be in the right place, right time, right opportunity. Like I think same with world modeling. I think people are just very the whole industry right now is very much like LLM centric, right? Very few people care about modeling like Jan LeCun, Fei Li, and a few other researchers. But you see, in 2, 3 years, when there's a breakthrough that happens with world modeling, that's when everyone's going to be like, oh, these guys were one of the pioneers. These guys did this stuff. So you have to grind it out in research for a few years and then make the most of the opportunity at that period of time. And it may not be these guys. It may be someone else. Whoever makes the most of the opportunity with the technology at that period of time will be the winner again.
Yeah. Okay, so just maybe wrapping up a bit here on Skyfall. When's the first public update? Where can people follow you? What cities are you in these days?
Yeah, so we're based out of San Francisco, Toronto, and Bangalore, India, 3 cities. Bangalore is mostly engineering, Toronto is mostly research, and SF is business plus research, I guess. Um, you can follow us on Twitter. That's where we lie. These days, if you don't hang out on X and you're an AI company, you're a wrong place if you're not in X. And yeah, there'll be a lot of public updates, to be honest with you, in the next few months. We have so many breakthroughs, Amar, coming out, and I don't shy away from saying it in your podcast right now because I do think that we have many innovations coming out in world modeling, which will be great for the entire research community and us. And then regarding the autonomous business update, I think that update's going to come out hopefully within the next 6 months, like we said. We first have to buy the business. We're planning to buy the business by August. And then we'll obviously have to run the algorithms for a few months. And then hopefully beginning of next year, we'll have an update of what happened with the algorithms. We do think algorithms will do at least decently well, but let's see. We have to run it autonomously for at least a few months before we let the public know about it.
Well, look, I think people should feel excited, inspired by hearing from you as call it the OG or legends of this industry. Lots to come. We're excited. We'll possibly have you on for another follow-up in a few months. But we like to end things off here with a bit of rapid fire.
Sure.
What's the last book you read?
The last book I read was this luxury communism book that I was mentioning.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was a couple months ago.
Gotcha.
Don't get time to read anymore. You know why? I have to read research papers nowadays. That's all I read. That's all the time I get.
You need an agent to help you orchestrate all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Favorite automation you have outside of your work life?
Outside of my work life, I don't have many automations outside of my work life, but I would like to have an automation, which is a very simple automation, which maybe I should have, which is, I always travel a lot, whether for work, mostly for work, let's say. And I always have to book a new Airbnb, book new flight tickets every single time. And I do think this agent will be very, very simple. But if someone can, maybe I should sit in a weekend for 2 hours and do that. And I think someone can get me the flights, get me the hotels, give me the best Airbnbs. But I still have to view it. The problem is I have to view it. I have to see.
I'll give you 3 quick ones. You could do Claudebot, Mira, Nemotron. These are solvable problems. This is good.
Yeah. Very solvable. Very solvable.
Favorite activity outside of work?
I do a lot of, I used to hike a lot. So now I can't because now I'm into SF, so I do mini hikes. So I had a couple of years after Maluuba where I used to travel the world and stuff for a year. And I did 4 of the largest, it's called the 7 summits. So basically it's like the highest mountain of each continent. So I did 4 of the 7 and then COVID hit and I couldn't do I can blame it on COVID. And then I'm doing startups. So yeah.
Tell us more. Which ones did you do?
So because I was, let's say, very computer science inspired, how do I say this? Not very active ever before. So what I did was the first mountain I ever did in my life. I did do a few practice runs and stuff because I never really worked out, was Mount Kilimanjaro. So I did Mount Kilimanjaro as the first hike. I did a few runs and stuff, 5K runs and stuff before. You can't just do nothing. So I did Kilimanjaro as my first mountain. Then I trained a little bit. Then I did Mount Elbrus in Russia. And I did Mont Blanc in France. And I did Aconcagua. The highest mountain I climbed was basically Aconcagua. That's the highest in South America. So the ones that are remaining are Mount Everest, the Antarctica mountain, and Mount Vincent, and then Denali. But now I'm doing this startup, so I think it's hard to train and hard to do hiking. So it's going to be maybe
fascinating. Having done a subset of the ones you've done,
which ones did you do?
I'll share with you. The first one I did was Kilimanjaro, and
nice.
I made many mistakes. One of which we went during the wet season, and we decided to go up the backside. If anybody's been up the back, it's all just tent camping. Yeah. Well, we started as tropical rain on the first day. Then full Canadian blizzard, snow blizzards by the 2 days before you're up at the top. And the morning of the Uhuru Peak ascent, it was it looked like the middle of winter here.
Yeah.
And I was okay, no problem. We get to the top and you got to go around to get to the crater. And my friend Christian and I were doing this, and we were in, it was in waist deep snow, that we were going through. And I show people pictures of our waist deep snow and they go, "Where is this? I've done the same thing." And now you see it and there's no snow up top. It's just one of these amazing experiences people have.
That's interesting because when I did Kilimanjaro, we didn't have waist deep. We had some snow because I went in January or something like that. It was normal season and it was normal amount of snow, not the crazy amount of snow, waist deep snow
I'll tell you, we went this would have been, this a long time ago, but end of March or March 20 something. I remember very specifically.
Yes.
All right, last one.
Crazy experience.
Yeah, it's a great experience. If anybody hasn't done it, I think you should go do these things.
Yeah.
And they've come a long way. You're not going to end up on, oxygen tank death. So it's fun. Um, one word in 5 years, Skyfall will be known for what?
One word. That's hard. Well, I'd say saving humanity is the favorite word, because if you think about Skyfall, why we chose the word Skyfall, it's from MI6 in the actually Skyfall movie. These agents are actually going to save the world and stuff. So I do believe in saving the world in our context by not doing all these operational tasks. Like, we do think humans should not be wasting their time doing all these operational tasks and do more creative tasks and follow their passion. And I think, sorry, 2 words, saving humanity. I think that's what we're looking forward
I
to.
love it. Well, thank you. This has been a
Thank you.
tremendous pleasure in spending the time with you. Thanks for sharing all your insights.
Thank you so much, Amar. See you soon. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.